The next piece in the site series we can look at is adding landscaping. Um, so there are several ways we can really do this. The first and obviously the easiest would simply be opening up one of our files in the block folder, and this one's called the Mitch Hui Preferred Landscape. And you'll see that it has several different trees, some 3D trees and flowers and bushes. Uh, and just a quick note on landscaping. You can make trees that are three-dimensional, as you can see here. Uh, it's a good example. It shows the leaves are actually constructed, and there's some good ones, there's some bad ones in general. And then there's also what's called face me components, meaning these are really just two-dimensional images that are set to rotate and follow the camera. This is probably a good one to really emphasize the point. You can see how this one, it's very two-dimensional, uh, but when you're down low, it's pretty convincing, to show a nice tree. And the reason why you would do this is to save on a polygon count, meaning landscape can really up the file size and make the file run a lot slower, where these type of trees will add a lot without adding a lot of without causing the program to slow down. And this is definitely not a bad idea, especially if you're going to go into um, working on renderings to where you're going to switch out the trees for rendering trees. So this is good placeholder, when you're doing SketchUp scenes and so forth. So with that said, let's get into it. Um, there's this file here, which is again called the Mitch Hui Preferred Landscaping. We also have this other one called Good Landscaping, which is just another series of trees and bushes as well. Some overlap between the two, but um, so maybe let's start with some bushes. Again, even in the bushes, you have this one here, which is a little bit nicer of a three-dimensional bush. This one is somewhat three-dimensional, although this one has every leaf built. This one here is actually a pretty decent one, but again, it's just a picture, and you can see that it's really just a flat plane that has a picture painted on it. So it's a lot better from a memory perspective, and you can really just stretch this as far as you need to make as long of a bush as you need to. And these ones work pretty well. And so, maybe we'll start off bringing some bushes in. We'll go to our model, and I'm going to hide my site, my earth real quick. That's by right-clicking, saying hide. And you should see down here, again, we've ignored these for the most part, but these are really placeholders that I use. And if I hit Shift E, you can see what layers they're on. So I'm actually going to look for my site. Let's see here. Yeah, this is my site flora. So I have a site flora, and then inside my site flora, I have site bushes and site trees. So this way, I can turn both trees and bushes off at the same time by turning the flora layer off, or I could just turn off trees or bushes for whatever reason I need to. Sometimes it's just easier. So I'm going to double click and go inside my bushes group, and I'm going to paste my bush in. I'm going to come out and just unhide my earth just to get back my reference points and whatnot. So now I can bring this up, touch the ground. We'll rotate this to where it needs to go. You can see it's a very large bush. It's meant to be large, but it's also very scalable. It is a component, so just be aware that if you make a copy, you'll want to adjust that. So maybe we'll put a bush right here along these windows, along this whole side of the house. And we know that we want to say scale this back, say to there, and we're going to want to scale down the size of it, so we can just drag down. Let's see if I can get everything. sometimes there's hidden geometry that won't let you do it. And if not, I'll show you a different way. There we go. And so we'll just scale this down, maybe something to right about there, which starts to look good. And there we go. We have some bushes along that edge. And maybe we'll copy another bush over here. And we'll just, maybe this one, just to, remember this was a component, so we want to make unique if we're going to edit it. So maybe this one we'll just do, say, a smaller bush there and a smaller bush here. So there you go. So there's some bushes coming in. Now this time I want to go into my tree, and maybe we'll come in and grab one of these palms here. We'll copy it and we'll paste it. That one's kind of big. Let me see if I can find a better one. Let's go with this one. Just it's a nice, easy one to use. Plop it down to the grass a little bit. Maybe we'll just copy a couple of them. Put a couple here in the corner, and we'll grab some more and throw some over here in this corner. Maybe the that really nice palm we had, we want to put here in our road roundabout and do something like that. If it's feeling a little big, we can always scale it even. Maybe bring it down just a smidge. Alright, so we have some nice palm action going on, and we can even bring it up, just copy them up, up to this side of our model. And just start placing the landscaping where we need it, and wherever it dictates. And sometimes you just add the landscaping in, and then when we come back and set our scenes, we can either, say, adjust the tree just a little bit, to make it fit more with what we want to show, or we can also always just slightly adjust maybe our viewing angle to where we just start refining our tabs. And so we'll update, and that's nice, and you'll get a little frame of an action there. Maybe we'll try and get some more trees back here, but again, it's all in really what you need or want to accomplish. And so just to quickly continue on showing you this technique, we can say maybe grab this series of flowers and plop it down here. And we'll just make sure that it's planted in the ground and slide it over. And there you go. That could just be a very quick version, but you can see it starts adding a lot of life to things. If you really want to, you can come in and maybe this area gets planted, and doing that sort of thing. We can even do that real quick. Let's say we'll grab this and just bring it up here. Maybe it's quite a big garden area there. Nice outside the windows, and maybe do some seating here and doing something like that. So that's one way of doing our landscaping. And so I'm actually going to, let's see here, I'm going to come in here and copy both of these over. So I'm just going to move it over, say 150 feet, just to get it out of the way, because what I want to show you next is similar to the way we had previously built columns. Not these, but if you remember, we had a different set of columns going back to our CAD plan. We had built this set of columns, and we basically built a component within AutoCAD, brought it in, and we're able to populate all the columns around pretty quickly and easily, and kind of had preset components built. And so we're going to do the same thing, and it's great if you happen to have a landscape plan provided, and you can just take these AutoCAD blocks and say plop them right on top of each other of the scanned in landscape plan, or if you happen to have their CAD file and they already have their blocks, that's even better. But what's going to be really interesting is we have these trees here, and each one is a block. Same thing, we have, say, some flowers or topiaries here and some bushes here, and again some more bushes and trees. And I have my my reference marker. So I'm actually going to say move, or actually I'm going to copy this over, say 100 feet. That's right. Okay. So that's 100 feet. I'm going to isolate my plants layer. Let's copy this over, say 100 feet. Turn everything back on. Maybe let's move this over another 100 feet just to get it out of the way. And again, put everything on my 0 layer. And I can W block this out and come back into SketchUp. And now we can import. I'm actually going to go File, Import, and I'm going to do it outside of any other block, simply because we're going to end up cutting and pasting in a second. So I'll grab my reference point right here and putting it right there where it needs to go. And so there we go. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to come grab, let's start with trees. I'm going to grab all my trees that I need. And I'm going to hit Control X and come out of that and go into my tree layer and Control Shift V. And then maybe I'll take this tree. I'm going to save it out, save the component out as an individual component onto my desktop. And what that's going to allow me to do is now I can right click on this component, and you see I can click right here where it says reload, and this is the tree that I had just exported out, and so I could open that, and there you go. So all of my blocks, again, that's all these components, these were blocks in AutoCAD, are turned into components, and if I replace them, I can quickly populate my my scene with with some trees this way. Let's just sink this down just a little bit further, and so there you go. So that's a quick way of doing it. And the other really interesting thing, and I'm going to make a generic component real quick to show this point. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to draw a circle, say that big. There we go. So I have this block here, and I'm going to copy that same block, but I'm going to scale it by 3, just to super exaggerate it. So now with this this scaled, I'm going to bring that back into SketchUp here. I'll import, bring in that block, and what you're going to see happen is, again, if I come in here really quick, let me Shift E for my component info, you'll see that this definition, again, it's a generic definition, but will match this one exactly. They're the same block, same component, they're the exact same, except this one happens to be scaled. Now, if I take this and reload it with that same tree, this tree palm, you'll see I have that exact same block, but this one is scaled 3 times the size of this one. Now, that scale difference is something far more than we would ever deal with, but if you look closely back here in my AutoCAD file for this bush, for example, what I have done is when I copied this block up, I scaled it by, say, 0.95 or 0.9 or 1.05, just a little difference between them. as well as some minor rotations, so that when they import here in SketchUp, they're gonna scale slightly different and rotate slightly different, and it gives a little bit more variance to the file versus having just a monotony of pieces that look like they're just copied over that way. And in fact, here you can see the way that they're rotated versus them being perfect square on the base one. It starts rotating. So I'm gonna grab my bushes and my flowers, and I'm gonna cut them out, and I can actually now get rid of this this piece that we had brought in. And we'll go into my bushes and Control Shift V, and now we can start playing with these. And so this topiary here, you can see I have, say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 topiaries. I'm gonna hit reload and load in a topiary. Let's see here what happened. Pretty simple. Is my insertion point for the topiary was not in the right place. So I'm going to undo and quickly go and open up that file. Let me come here to my desktop and open up that topiary file. So you'll see with that topiary file, if I turn my axes on, you see the insertion points way over here. So this is where insertion points can get to be very important. So I'm just going to slide it right over there and get it somewhere right in the middle. And we'll save that file, close it out. Now, if I come back and reload, I can reload this topiary, and there we go. Now it populates right into the perfect place, and so we got some cool stuff going on very quickly. We do the same thing with my flowers. Maybe I'm just going to grab this individual one, make sure. See my insertion points way over here, so let me save this, make component, I'm going to save as, and we'll just call it flower 01. So now I come back here and I can reload this flower symbol with our flower, and there you go, quickly populates. Looks like we're actually up in the air a little bit. So easy enough, we'll just come grab, make sure we're not grabbing our topiaries, and slide them down. These flowers are looking a little big, so I'm just going to come inside the block itself, and we're going to scale this down just a little bit, make it something a little more manageable. And now we can come in here, now that we're in here, we can come in and refine a little bit and put the pieces where we want them. And maybe we have this flower's back in here, this one's over here. So really the AutoCAD block replacement scheme really can just be used as a as a guideline to kind of start getting the conversation going, if you will. And so there you go. So we got some flowers, and as we talked about before, maybe we want, instead of grass growing underneath our plants, we want to come in here and just draw, say, something a little bit more like this. Maybe something freehandish that gives a little organic feel to it, and we'll find our ground cover. This is just one. There's a couple different ones we can always play with, and there you go. So now it feels a little more say realistic in there. And we got some bushes over here, so let's find a good bush to use. Come into my trees. This one, it's a pretty decent one. I think this one will work nice because it's not a super high polyline one, but yet it's fairly realistic looking. So we want to, again, double check our insertion point, which looks like it's doing well. So we want to go save as, and we're just going to call it just boxwood, just to make it simple. So once it saves out, we can come back here, and so maybe we'll start editing our bushes. So we want to come here and say reload, choose our boxwood, and there we go. Maybe having rotated these may not have been the best idea, since these particular boxwoods are square. So maybe we don't want square ones, we want to try and find something a little more round. So maybe we'll grab this one. And do something more like this. And so again, we just want to check our insertion point. We see it's over here. There we go. And now we can do, say, save as, and we're going to call it, bush 01A for whatever reason. Good enough. And so now, same thing. Even though we loaded these in, they're not the ones we want. Say we can reload with a different file and say we want our bush 01A, and there we go. Maybe that's something that's fits a little more with what we want. Maybe we need one more in there, and call it a day. And so there we go. We got some bushes going on. So you can see that our bushes have now populated throughout. Again, we can just do some minor adjustments. Maybe we need to slide these over just a little so we can get one more in here. And you can see that there's definitely some variation going on because of that scaling and rotating issue. So it just makes it look a little more lively, if you will. So we got some bushes there. Maybe we want to copy one more bush right to here, just we want to go all the way across. And again, we got some nice bushes going there. So, and maybe we want to add a few flowers back over here. Just fill it in with some flowers. That's good. And again, maybe this area here. Again, we'll go draw freehand, and maybe this area here wants to be more of a planting area, so we change that material. Something like that. And so maybe we refine our bushes just a little bit, more to the edge. Add maybe another set of flowers, and maybe another set of flowers. And we'll do something like that. So there we go. Let me get rid of this. And so there's that's a different way in which you can start adding in adding in landscape. So the block replacement way is a really good method that works really well. Maybe these front ones I want just a little bit taller. You can definitely be a little more exact with the block replacement method. If you have a very, very specific landscape plan that you're trying to adhere to, and you can use that and perfectly replace the blocks. But so anyway, that's adding in landscape, and so we're just about done filling in our site, and maybe we'll put in some people and furniture in the next one.